Namaskar. I am Professor Parthabotim Chakraborty from Department of Geology, University of Delhi. I welcome you to an episode that deals with clastic non-deltaic environments that includes beach, barrier lagoon and tide dominated. After studying this module, you shall be able to know about different kinds of clastic non-deltaic depositional environments such as beaches and strand plains, barrier lagoon, tide dominated coastlines. You will be able to learn about different anatomical parts, operative processes and sedimentation patterns in these environments. Also, you will be able to understand the evidences one should look for delineation of products of these environments in the rock record. Now, coasts represent areas of interface between the land and the sea, and a wide variety of sedimentary environments such as coastal plains, beaches, barriers, lagoons, etc. Those belong to this area are designated as non-deltaic coastal environment. Now, R.J. LeBlanc classified non-deltaic clastic coastal environments in two main groups, the coastal interdeltaic and the shallow marine environment. Non-deltaic shorelines receive their sediment supply from a variety of sources. These include longshore transport of sediment deposited temporarily at river mouths by actions of wave and current in order to form beaches, and sediments picked up from the offshore sea floor and moved landward again to form beaches. In fact, a net landward transport of sediments in clastic shorelines occur because of the landward movement of water by wind generated waves and nearshore currents. Amongst a complex array of processes those influence coastal settings, the effects of shoaling waves are primarily responsible for shaping the nature of clastic facies in open coasts, although tides and biogenic processes may be locally significant. Waves generated both from local wind, that is seas, and distant storm, that is longer period swells, operate on shorelines. Now, depending on morphology of coastline, wave energy and sediment supply, coastlines may behave as erosional or depositional. An erosional coast is steep gradient, where a large part of wave energy that is dominated by swells gets reflected back to the sea, and wave eroded material get redistributed by wave, tide and current. Whereas, a depositional coast is of low gradient, where sediment supply is high and dissipation of wave energy make the coast an active area of deposition. Cliff erosion in erosional coastlines result in the formation of wave cut platforms. In contrast, environments those represent depositional coastlines are beach strand plain, barrier lagoon and wave tide dominated shallow marine systems. Now, relative sea level condition and tidal range, that is whether micro, meso or macro tidal, play major role in guiding development of coastal environments, that is beach or barrier bar or lagoon. Now, beaches and shallow marine coastlines, we will discuss on that. Because of necessity of human race in terms of settlement and construction of various structures for waterborne business and navigation, beaches are extensively studied by geologists and engineers both in descriptive term and through mathematical expressions, which can best express operative processes those control erosion, transportation of sediments and deposition. Now, in this figure it is illustrated the main zones of shallow marine environment, that is number 1, that is backshore, that is the area landward of beach berm above high tide level, commonly represented by back beach aeolian dunes. Now, number 2, that is beach foreshore between the high tide and low tide level, that is intertidal area, and number 3, that is shore face that extends from low tide level up to offshore flatter gradient shelf, that is up to the fair weather wave base, which is commonly referred as FWWB and at 15 to 20 meter of water depth. Now, beaches are best developed in microtidal wave dominated coasts. Hence, processes operate in beaches are dominantly wave related, that is breaking of wave, wave swash and backwash, storm wave and wave generated currents, that is longshore and rip current. Now, in this figure a general profile of wave dominated coastal margin showing disposition of different environmental settings is shown. In a passing sinusoidal wave, water movement follows a circular orbit. forward under the crest of the wave and backward under the trough. With depth, the diameter of the circle diminishes until the movement becomes insignificant, which is called wave base. As a wave enters shallow water, the circle is deformed into an ellipse and the water movement just above the seabed is essentially horizontal. As long as the wave form is nearly sinusoidal, the forward and backward movement of the water is symmetrical in both duration and velocity. But as the wave crest becomes peaked, the wave velocity profile of the orbital currents changes. The forward motion under the wave crest becomes stronger and of shorter duration than the seaward motion. The velocity asymmetry of shoaling wave causes strong landward net sediment transport, as bedload sediment movement occurs on the order of cube of velocity and generate ripple bed forms with lee side directing landward. Eventually, with further steepening, waves break, that is called breaker zone, when orbital velocity exceeds wave velocity and throw finer sediment in suspension, generate turbulence and translation wave. The zone, that is the upper shore face, within which the high velocity translation waves, wave translated by breaking into current, cause landward transport of sediment as bed load and short duration suspension load, is referred to as the sharp zone. The sharp zone gives way to the swash current at the shoreline, which sweeps the beach upslope carrying sediment in suspension and is immediately followed by downslope backwash. Parting lineation, often in two sets arranged in rhombic pattern, that is the rhombic ripple and current crescent, are common bedding plane primary structures. Sandy sediment is deposited in layers parallel to slope of the foreshore, giving rise to well sorted, well rounded sediment with low angle stratification and considered as characteristic product of wave dominated beach setting. Sediment grains in beach sediment are mature both compositionally and texturally as they go through repeated reworking and abrasion. While plain lamination with low angle truncation is typical of beach sandstones, foreshore sandstones are characteristically found as wave ripple cross laminated. In gravel beaches, at the top of foreshore gravel ridges form as water percolate down the porous gravels and backwash becomes weak. The low ridge like structure that separates beach from back beach area is called berm. Sediments can be carried beyond the berm in back beach area only in storm surge condition and create low angle landward dipping strata in back beach area. Truncation of low angle landward dipping back beach strata by low angle seaward dipping beach foreshore strata is considered as characteristic sedimentary structure for beach sediment. Now, in this figure, morphology of a beach constituted of beach foreshore and backshore separated by a berm is shown. Note formation of landwardly dipping strata in the backshore. Shorelines, now shoreline successions typically develop where the coast progrades with the addition and accumulation of sediment. An ideal facies succession of prograding shallow marine system is shallowing and coarsening upward in character, whereby shallow water facies build laterally over deep water counterparts. Now, fluctuations in eustasy, sedimentation rate and rate of subsidence cause alteration between marine regression, that is result in progradation and transgression. At times of transgression, landward migration of shore face equilibrium profile removes much sediment previously deposited and forms surface of ravinement. Hence, a wave dominated equilibrium coastline that has gone through episodes of regression and transgression will produce stacked sets of progradational shallow marine sheet sand deposits separated by erosional surfaces formed at times of transgression. Now, this figure shows a progradational wave dominated coastal succession. The base of shore face in such succession is designated as fair weather wave base. Now, we come to barrier bar lagoon system. A subtidal to subaerial sandy barrier island, a lagoon or marsh behind it and the tidal inlet that intersects the barrier to establish connection between lagoon and open sea, all these components together constitute the barrier bar lagoon complex. barriers are less than 100 meter in width and a few hundred meters to kilometers in length, and intersected by tidal channels at intervals governed by the tidal range in the coastline. The largest trend to form along long coast of large oceans where the wave energy is high and tidal range is small. Where tides play an important role, small flat tidal deltas form on the landward side of open tidal channels. Those intersect a barrier if the flood tide is significantly strong than the ebb tide. Conversely, ebb tidal deltas may form on seaward side of the tidal channels when ebb is strong. Herringbone crossbeds are characteristic sedimentary structure in tidal channel or in tidal delta that signify bidirectionality in tidal current. At flow stages, particularly at storm surge, reworking of barrier bar may also cause supply of washover fan in the lagoon at its back. Washover deposits are low angle cones of stratified sands dipping landward from the barrier. With sufficient supply of sediment seaward, barrier progradation starts and strand plane develops, which is built out to sea. In fact, a strand plane includes series of ridges parallel to coastline. Retrograding barriers are those where sediment supply is low and dominating marine energy cause erosion of beach and barrier. Washover of barriers is common in such cases and supply sediment in the lagoon at the back. Lagoons formed at the back of barrier bars are elongated parallel to the coastline and have insignificant freshwater runoff. Also, circulation of lagoon in tune with open sea is restricted by barrier bar. The principal movement of water mass in lagoons is controlled by tidal current operated through tidal inlet and wind forced wave. Except for the tidal inlets through which lagoon keeps connection with open sea, rest parts of lagoon are of very low energy and dominated by deposition of silt and mud. Only at times of high energy event, that is storm surge, washover form barrier supply sandy sediment within a lagoon. Sandy sediments are also found in tidal channels and tidal delta. Now, this figure shows a wave dominated coastline with beach barrier bar protecting a lagoon. Note formation of flood and ebb tidal deltas on lagoonal and marine sides of tidal channel breaching the barrier bar. This figure shows cross section of a barrier island forming a strand plane and show relationship of barrier sands with lagoonal and marine fine grained sediments. The barrier sands have sharp contact with up dip lagoonal clays and down dip they pinch out into marine silts and clays. Depending on hydrologic condition and climate, salinity of lagoons vary from hypersaline to freshwater in character. Arid or semi-arid climatic condition that is in the coastal lagoons in which the freshwater inflow is less and evaporation, that is outflow, exceeds inflow. A hypersaline condition prevails, whereas humid climate lagoons with good seasonal rainfall are likely to be brackish to freshwater in character. The Chilka Lake, Odisha is an example of brackish water lagoon in India. Report of undisputed lagoonal deposits from the rock record is very rare. Distinguishing criteria for identification of lagoonal deposit and delineation of lagoonal deposit from estuarine deposit include restricted circulation suggested by the presence of evaporite and anoxic black shell, dominance of fine grained sediments, low faunal diversity and excessive bioturbation. Association with large scale cross stratified well sorted barrier bar sandstone unit also help in identification of lagoonal deposit. Now, we will discuss the tide dominated shorelines. Now, tides generate unsteady currents which erode, transport and deposit sediments. Sediments are transported both as bed load and suspension. At the high and low tide current velocity becomes 0, current velocity gradually increases and then decreases as the tide ebbs and gradually increases and decreases as the tide floods. velocities of tidal currents can reach as high as 1.5 meter per second in tidal channels and 30 to 50 centimeter per second on tidal flats. Following Hallström criteria, the time varying velocity of tidal current cause alternate domination of bed load and suspension sedimentation as expressed in ripple movement with forcet at times of high velocity and clay drift at times of low velocity. If the bipolar current, that is flood and ebb, are of equal velocity, duration of tidal cycle becomes symmetrical, sand transport becomes to and fro, and as a result herringbone cross stratification, that is bipolar cross stratification, is formed. Tidal depositional systems are best developed in coastal areas where the tidal range is significant and tidal current is sufficiently strong to drive local marine circulation. Tidal environment can be classified according to tidal range, such as the macrotidal when we have tidal range more than 4 meter, mesotidal tidal range 2 to 4 meter, and microtidal when the tidal range is 0 to 2 meter. Nearly 30% of world coastline is macrotidal, and some coastline with estuarine setup even are megatidal with tidal range exceeding 8 meter. The highest tidal ranges in the world today are in bays of continental shelves, such as the Bay of Fundy, where tidal range is more than 15 meter, on the Atlantic seaboard of Canada. Besides, a tidal coastline is subdivided into supratidal, intertidal and subtidal zones. The supratidal zone occupies the area above mean high tide level, which gets inundated only during highest tides and storms. The supratidal zone comprises environments like salt marshes, washover fans or mangrove swamps. The intertidal zone is represented by the area between the mean high tide and mean low tide levels. And it comprises of tidal flat, tidal channel, etc. of a delta or estuary or foreshore of open coast. The subtidal zone belongs to the area below mean low tide level, which include distal tidal channels of estuaries and deltas, delta fronts and tide influenced shore faces. The aerial extent of these zones at any coastline depend upon the tidal range and types of coastline. Sedimentary succession that exhibit tidal signature are commonly known as tidalites. These are both mud rich and sand rich and vary from thin muddy heterolithic strata, that is flesser or lenticular bedded, to sand rich unidirectional or bidirectional herringbone cross strata or laterally vertically accreted medium to fine grained sandstone, siltstone and mudstone having rhythmic change in the lamina bed thickness and grain size that we know as tidal rhythmite. Tidal channel deposits are similar to meandering channels with development of point bar deposits. Cross stratification of ripples in tidal channels may display bimodal direction of forced dip generated by reversing tidal currents. Also, reactivation surfaces can be generated in reversing tides in an asymmetric tidal cycle, where ripple crests may get eroded in next tidal cycle. Although most tidal flats are sericiclastic in character, carbonate tidal flats are also not uncommon. In arid and semi-arid condition, deposition of gypsum, anhydrite and dolomite are also recorded in supratidal and upper intertidal parts due to evaporation, giving rise to scolithos ichnofacies and occurrence of fecal pellets are common characters of tidal flats. On careful observation and analysis of variations in lamina bed thickness and grain size of tidal rhythmites, a number of tidal cyclicities of different time durations are inferred by workers and further use them for interpretation of paleoclimate, paleo-ocean seaches and evolutionary history of earth moon system. Interpretation of tidal cyclicities of different orders demands understanding on astronomical controls on tide explained through two different tidal theories, that is the equilibrium theory and dynamic tidal theory. Equilibrium and dynamic tidal theory we will discuss now. This tidal theory is conceptual. According to this theory proposed by Sir Isaac Newton, Equilibrium tide is ideal and generated by the attractive gravitational pull by moon and to a lesser extent by sun. Earth is considered as covered up by deep water of uniform depth that is capable of instantly responsive to this attractive pull. According to this model, forces from the moon and sun in conjunction with the centrifugal force generate out of the earth rotation cause two bulges to be formed on opposite sides of the earth. The bulges more closely follow the moon as it accounts for nearly 70% of the attractive force on earth. The rotation of the earth through both of these bulges causes formation of two tides in a day, that is semi-diurnal tide. As a point on earth enters the bulge, tides rise, that is called flood tide, and when the point moves out of the bulge, tides fall, we call it ebb tide. In this model, diurnal tides, one tide a day, occur only in high latitude positions. This is not in the equilibrium model. In equilibrium tidal world, the intensity of daily or twice daily tide vary in a number of ways depending on changing phase or declination of the moon. With change in the phase of moon, spring nip cycles are generated with the interval between two successive springs is 14.76 days when earth, moon and sun are nearly aligned at new or full moon time. Nip tides result when sun and moon are aligned at right angle with the earth at the first or third quarter phases of the moon. This result in higher strength of spring compared to that of nip. The period of time from new moon to new moon is referred to as the synodic month cycle, whereas the time from new moon to full moon represents the semi monthly cycle. Now, this figure shows equilibrium tidal model that illustrates semi-diurnal tide A, the synodic month B and the tropical month C. Further, the orbital plane of moon is inclined to the equatorial plane of the earth, and hence the tidal force depends on relative position of the moon with respect to the equator of the earth. More the declination of the moon, higher is the tide raising force. The time period currently 27.32 days, the moon takes from its maximum southern declination to maximum northern declination and return back is referred to as the tropical month. The changing position of the moon relative to earth's equator through the tropical month causes the diurnal inequality in which morning high tide is stronger than the evening high tide in a semi-diurnal system. Diurnal inequality reduces to 0 when the moon is over the equator. Synodic and tropically driven tides are fundamentally different, whereas 29.53 days spring nip tidal cyclicity is recorded in synodic month in tune with the changes in the phase of the moon. Tropically driven spring nip cycles reflecting declinational changes are with 27.32 days duration. It is important to differentiate between synodically driven nip spring tidal cycles typical of North Atlantic and tropically driven nip spring cycles that is found in the Gulf of Mexico, large parts of the Pacific and Indian Ocean. Although equilibrium tidal theory is fairly straightforward, it understates the complexities in tidal processes. In real world, the earth does not spin through two tidal bulges. Rather, water in each ocean basin rotate as discrete waves about a series of fixed, that is called amphidromic points. Also, oceanographers have recorded diurnal tides in low latitude and semi-diurnal tides in mid latitude modern oceans, which is in contradiction with the equilibrium theory. At the amphidromic point, there is no change in water level in a tidal cycle. It is thought that oceans are divided into a number of amphidromic shells and some additional small shells, deposits of ancient tidal flat. Now, most important criteria for identification of ancient tidal flats that includes that the bimodal cross strata suggesting operation of reversing tidal current, occurrence of sediment, sand and mud indicating small scale alternation in sediment transport condition, that is bed load or suspension, and joint occurrence of large scale channel and small scale sand mud flat, structural units in superposition, abundantly present reactivation surfaces and flexure bedding, records of astronomical forcings with cyclicities within rhythmites in the order of tidal range, that is diurnal, semi-diurnal, semi-monthly, monthly, etc. Abrupt facies changes, erosional contacts at places and like that. Now, we come to the summary. Non-deltaic shallow marine environments form the shoreline to the shelf edge are complex in nature, so are their deposits. Depending on physiography of shoreline, sediment supply and relative sea level condition, coastline may be wave or tide dominated. Barrier island systems developed by near shore transport and deposition of sand size siliciclastic or carbonate detritus along coastlines, which are exposed to considerable wave action and frequently form long extended sandstone bodies parallel to strand line. Barriers often grow upward with rising sea level, separating an estuary or lagoon from the open sea. Breaching of barrier by tidal channel and formation of flood and ebb tidal delta makes barrier lagoon environment a complex one with several sub environments. Sandy or gravelly beaches form on coastline where there is a sufficient supply of plastic sediment and enough wave energy to distribute sediments on the foreshore. Formation of beach, its geometry or development of barrier bar lagoon on a coastline depends on available tidal regime, that is micro, meso or macro tidal and coastal morphology. An ideal facies succession of prograding shallow marine system is shallowing and coarsening upward in character, whereby shallow water facies build laterally over deep water counterparts. Coasts that have higher tidal ranges do not develop barriers because of strong control of tidal flood and ebb. Tidal channels, tidal flats, sandy or muddy develop disposed from supratidal above high tide to subtidal below low tide setup. Bipolar cross strata, reactivation surface, flexure bedding, laterally vertically accreted strata with periodic variation in grain size and stratal thickness that we call the rhythmite are hallmark characters for tidal disposition. So, that is all we have for you today. We hope you enjoyed this session. See you again. Till then, thank you and namaskar.